The alarm screamed through the bridge of the human ship. Captain Ryan Bennett jumped from his chair and stared at the screen. 3 alien warships were firing at each other near the border. This was not a drill. This was real combat, and it was happening in neutral space. "Get me a visual," Ryan ordered. His hands gripped the armrest tight. The screen flickered and showed the battle. 2 large warships were attacking a smaller royal vessel. The royal ship's shields were failing. Explosions lit up the darkness of space like fireworks. "Sir, we're receiving a distress call," said Lisa Hayes, his second in command. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. "It's coming from the royal ship." "Put it through," Ryan said. The screen changed. An alien face appeared. He looked like a man but wasn't human. His skin was dark, purple, and his eyes were solid gold with no white parts. 4 small horns curved back from his forehead. This was King Vex Thor, ruler of the Naltharian Empire. "Human vessel." The king's voice was deep and strained. "I request immediate sanctuary. My own military is trying to kill me. I am willing to negotiate terms." Ryan felt his heart race. The Naltharian Empire controlled 12 star systems. They had more ships and more weapons than humanity could count. 3 years ago, humans and Naltharians had signed a peace treaty. But that treaty was fragile. If Ryan made the wrong choice now, it could start a war. "Captain, we should stay out of this," Lisa whispered. "This is their internal problem." Ryan knew she was right. But he also knew something else. The treaty said both sides would help each other in emergencies. If he left the king to die, the Naltharians who took over might blame humans. They might say humans wanted the king dead. "We're granting you sanctuary," Ryan said. "Prepare to dock." Lisa's eyes went wide. "Sir, are you sure?" "No," Ryan admitted, "but I think it's our best choice." The king's ship limped toward them. Behind it, the 2 warships stopped firing. They didn't attack the human vessel. They couldn't. That would break the treaty and start a war they weren't ready for. But they didn't leave either. They waited and watched. The royal ship docked. Ryan went to the docking bay with Lisa and 6 armed guards. He didn't know what to expect. When the door opened, 20 alien soldiers rushed out. They formed a protective circle around one figure. King Vex Thor stepped forward. He was tall, nearly 7 feet. He wore armor that was cracked and burned. Blood dripped from a wound on his arm. Behind him came more soldiers and several servants, and at the very back, almost hidden, was a young alien woman. "I thank you, Captain," the king said. "You have saved my life today. We'll protect you while we figure this out," Ryan said. "But I need to know what's happening. Why is your own military attacking you?" The king's gold eyes flashed with anger. "Traitors. My military council decided I am too weak. They want to take my throne. They will fail." "Maybe," Ryan said carefully. "But right now, you're on my ship. And those warships out there are waiting. We need a plan." For 3 days, the human ship stayed in neutral space. The 2 warships never left. They couldn't attack, but they could wait. Ryan contacted Earth and explained the situation. The politicians argued for hours. Some wanted to help the king, others wanted to send him away. Nobody could agree. On the 4th day, the king requested a meeting. Ryan and Lisa met him in the conference room. The alien king looked tired. The wound on his arm was healing, but his eyes showed his worry. "Captain, I must return to my empire," the king said. "I have gathered loyal forces. They are coming to escort me home, but I cannot return empty-handed. The council will use this against me. They will say I am weak because I needed human help." "What are you suggesting?" Lisa asked. "I must pay tribute. I must give your people something valuable to justify my rescue." Ryan felt uncomfortable. "We didn't save you for payment. We saved you because it was right." The king stared at him. "You humans are strange. But I understand politics even if you do not. I must give your government something, or they will look weak too." They helped an alien king who gave nothing in return. Ryan hated to admit it, But the king was right. Earth's government would want something to show for this risk. I offer my youngest daughter, the king said. The room went silent. Ryan and Lisa looked at each other in shock. You want to give us your daughter? Lisa's voice was sharp with anger. She is of no use to me, the king said simply. She was born defective. She cannot perform telepathy like other Naltharians. She brings shame to my family. But to you, she would be valuable, a royal hostage, a symbol of our alliance. She is worthless to me but precious to you. Ryan stood up fast, his chair scraped against the floor. We don't take people as payment. We don't keep hostages. Especially not someone's daughter. The king's expression didn't change. In my culture, offspring are property until they earn status. She has earned nothing. She never will. I am offering you a gift that strengthens both our positions. Your government gains influence over my empire. I gain honor by paying for my debt. She gains a purpose instead of being killed by my other children. Killed? Lisa gasped. She is defective, weak. She would not survive a year in my court. The king stood and walked to the door. He opened it and gestured. Come here. The young alien woman from before entered. She kept her eyes down. She wore a simple gray robe that was too large for her. Her purple skin was covered in bruises. She was thin. Too thin. She looked fragile, like she might break. This is Princess Kiranel, the king said without warmth. She is yours now. My debt is paid. The princess didn't look up. She didn't speak. She just stood there, trembling slightly. Ryan felt sick. This wasn't right. But he also knew he couldn't refuse without causing an incident. Earth would have to make this decision. We'll need to contact our government, Ryan said slowly. Of course, the king said. But I believe they will accept. Everyone wants power. I am giving them power over my bloodline. It is a generous offer. The king left with his guards. The princess remained. She stood perfectly still, waiting for orders, like a trained animal. Lisa moved toward her slowly. Princess, are you okay? Are you hurt? The princess flinched when Lisa got close. She didn't answer. Ryan contacted Earth immediately. He explained everything. The politicians talked for 6 hours. Then the answer came back. Earth accepted the gift. They wanted the princess brought home. They wanted to use her as leverage in future negotiations with the Naltharian Empire. Ryan felt like he had failed somehow. But orders were orders. The king's loyal ships arrived the next day. The king prepared to leave. Take care of my gift, Captain, the king said. He didn't even look at his daughter. She is fragile, but she will serve you better than she ever served me. Then he was gone. His ships jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared. Ryan stood in the docking bay with Lisa and the princess. The young alien woman still hadn't spoken. She stared at the floor. Set course for Earth, Ryan said quietly. And someone find quarters for the princess. Real quarters. Not a cell. Sir? One of the guards questioned. You heard me. She's not a prisoner. She's a passenger. Lisa nodded with approval. I'll handle it personally, Captain. As they led the princess away, Ryan wondered what they had just gotten into. He had saved a king and gained a princess, but somehow, he felt like he had just made everything much more complicated. The princess hadn't asked for this. She hadn't chosen any of this, and now her fate was in human hands. Ryan hoped they would do better than her own father had. Princess Kiranel sat alone in her room and stared at the walls. The room was small but clean. It had a bed with soft blankets, a desk, and a chair. There was even a window showing the stars outside. She had never had a window before. Back home, her room had been in the basement of the palace. No windows. No comfort. Just stone walls and a mat on the floor. Her father said she didn't deserve better. Her brothers and sisters agreed. They said she was broken, worthless, a shame to the family. She touched the bruise on her arm and winced. Her oldest brother had done that 2 weeks ago. He had pushed her down the stairs because she walked too slowly. Nobody punished him. Nobody cared. The door made a soft sound. Kiranel jumped up and pressed herself against the wall. Her heart raced. Were they coming to hurt her? To punish her for something? Princess? A gentle voice called. I'm coming in. Don't be afraid. Princess, a human woman entered. She had brown skin and kind eyes. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun. She carried a small bag. My name is Amy Rodriguez, the woman said. She spoke slowly and clearly. I'm the cultural officer on this ship. I'm here to help you. Kiranel didn't move. She watched the human carefully. In her experience, people who said they wanted to help usually wanted to hurt her. I brought you some clean clothes, Amy said. She held up the bag. These might fit better than what you're wearing. And I thought you might be hungry. When was the last time you ate? Kiranel didn't answer. She had learned not to speak unless ordered to speak. Speaking without permission meant punishment. Amy set the bag on the bed. Okay, I'll just leave these here. If you need anything, press this button. She pointed to a panel on the wall. Someone will come help you. You're safe here. Nobody will hurt you. The human left. Kiranel waited 5 minutes to make sure she was really gone. Then she looked in the bag. Inside were soft clothes in blue and gray colors. There was also a tray with food. Real food. Bread, some kind of meat, and fruit. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Before leaving, her father had forgotten to order anyone to feed her. Or maybe he remembered and didn't care. She ate slowly. The food was good. Better than anything she usually got. She waited for the pain to start. Sometimes her siblings poisoned her food for fun. But nothing happened. The food was safe. Over the next few days, more humans came to see her. There was Dr. Eric Palmer, a man with gray hair and gentle hands. He checked her injuries without causing pain. He put medicine on her bruises and bandaged a cut on her leg she had forgotten about. You're malnourished, he said quietly. And you have several old fractures that healed wrong. How long have you been hurt like this? Kiranel didn't answer. She didn't know how to explain that this was normal for her. That she had always been hurt. I'll make sure you get proper meals, Eric said. 3 times a day. And vitamins. You need to gain weight. A man named Brandon Lee brought her food every day. He was the cook on the ship. He always smiled when he came in. I made this special for you, he would say. Try it and tell me if you like it. At first, Kiranel was confused. Why did he care if she liked it? Nobody had ever cared about what she liked before. But Brandon kept coming. He kept asking. So finally, she pointed at the foods she preferred. Brandon grinned. Good, I'll remember that. And he did remember. Every meal after that included something she liked. It was strange. Kindness was strange. Amy came to visit every day. She would sit in the chair and talk. She didn't force Kiranel to talk back. She just talked about simple things. The ship. The stars. Earth. Earth is beautiful, Amy said one day. We have oceans that cover most of the planet. And forests with trees so tall you can't see the top. I grew up near mountains. Have you ever seen a mountain? Kiranel shook her head. Oh, you'll love them, Amy said. They're huge and covered in snow. The snow is like frozen rain. White. And cold. In winter, everything becomes quiet and peaceful. Kiranel found herself wanting to see these mountains, these oceans, this earth place. 1 week into the journey, something bad happened. 3 men in suits came to her room. They were human diplomats traveling on the ship. They walked in without knocking. So this is the alien princess, one man said. He looked at her like she was an object. She's smaller than I expected. Weaker too. She'll be useful though. Another man said. We can use her to control her father. Make demands. Get better trade deals. She'll be useful. We can use her to control her father. She'll be use her to control her father. Make demands. Kiranel felt cold. These humans sounded like her family. They wanted to use her. Hurt her. She was just a tool to them. We should keep her locked up when we reach Earth. The third man said. Can't have her running around free. She might try to escape or contact her people. Nobody would care. The first man laughed. Her own father called her worthless. Kiranel closed her eyes. It was true. She was worthless. Even humans could see it. The door opened suddenly. A large human man stood there. He wore a security uniform and had serious eyes. This was Jason Mitchell, the ship's security officer. You three need to leave, Jason said. His voice was hard. Now. We're just examining the cargo, one diplomat said. She's not cargo. She's a passenger, and you're harassing her. Jason stepped into the room. Captain's orders. Nobody bothers the princess without permission. Get out. The diplomats grumbled but left. Jason turned to Kiranel. His expression softened. You okay? He asked. She nodded slowly. Those guys are idiots, Jason said. Don't listen to them. You're under the captain's protection. Nobody touches you on this ship. Got it? He left before she could respond. Kiranel sat down on her bed. She was confused. That human had protected her. Why? He didn't know her. He got nothing from helping her. Amy came later that evening. She had heard about the incident. I'm sorry that happened, Amy said. Some people are cruel. But not everyone. Most of us want to help you. Why? Kiranel finally spoke. Her voice was rough from not being used. Why do you help me? I am defective. Worthless. Amy's eyes filled with sadness. You're not worthless. You're a person. Every person has value. Not in my culture, Kiranel whispered. I cannot do telepathy. I cannot read minds like others. I am broken. Maybe you're not broken, Amy said gently. Maybe you're just different. And different isn't bad. Kiranel wanted to believe her. But a lifetime of abuse was hard to forget. Over the following weeks, more crew members went out of their way to be kind. Kate Sullivan, the engineer, showed her how the ship's engines worked. She explained everything with patience, never getting angry when Kiranel didn't understand. You're a quick learner, Kate said. You could be a good engineer if you wanted. Nobody had ever said she was good at anything. Lisa Hayes, the second in command, would sometimes sit with her in the evening. They didn't talk much. Lisa would just read reports, while Kiranel looked out the window at the stars. But the company was nice. The silence was peaceful. Captain Ryan checked on her once a week. He never stayed long. But he always asked the same question. Do you have everything you need? Are people treating you well? Kiranel always nodded. She still didn't fully trust him. But she was starting to believe he meant what he said. 2 months into the journey, Amy convinced Kiranel to eat in the common dining area. Kiranel was terrified. Back home, eating with others meant being mocked, having food thrown at her, being called names, but Amy held her hand and walked with her. When they entered the dining hall, several crew members looked up. Then they smiled and waved. Brandon brought out a special plate of her favorite foods. Saved the best seat for you, princess, he said cheerfully. Kiranel sat down. Amy sat next to her. Other crew members joined their table. They talked about their day. They told jokes. They included her in their conversations, even when she didn't respond. Nobody mocked her. Nobody hurt her. They just treated her like she belonged. That night, alone in her room, Kiranel cried for the first time in years. But these weren't tears of pain. They were tears of relief. Of hope. Maybe Amy was right. Maybe she wasn't worthless. Maybe humans saw something in her that her own family never could. The journey to Earth would take 3 months total. For the first time in her life, Kiranel wasn't counting down the days with dread. She was actually curious. Nervous. Yes. But also curious. Captain Ryan received a message from Earth. The government wanted to keep Kiranel under protective observation when they arrived. They wanted to use her as leverage in negotiations. Ryan stared at the message for a long time. Then he deleted it and wrote a new response. He told Earth that he would advocate for the princess's rights, that she deserved better than being used as a political tool. It might cost him his career. But he didn't care. He had seen how damaged she was, how much healing she needed. He wouldn't hand her over to people who just wanted to use her. Lisa found him in his office late that night. "You're going to fight for her," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Ryan said. "Good." Lisa nodded. "Because I'm going to fight too. That girl deserves a chance at a real life. We all see it." Ryan smiled. His crew was good people. The best people, as the ship moved through space toward Earth. Princess Kiranel slowly began to heal. The bruises faded. She gained weight. She started talking more. She even smiled sometimes. She didn't know what waited for her on Earth. But for now, surrounded by humans who showed her kindness she never knew existed, she felt something she had never felt before. She felt safe. The ship landed on Earth 3 months after leaving Naltharian space. Kiranel stood at the window and stared at the blue planet below. Amy had been right. It was beautiful. The ocean sparkled in the sunlight. White clouds drifted over green and brown land. She had never seen anything so lovely. "Nervous?" Amy asked beside her. "Yes," Kiranel admitted. She spoke more easily now. The crew had taught her that speaking was safe, that her voice mattered. "Me too," Amy said honestly. "But we'll stay with you as long as we can." Government officials came aboard as soon as they landed. They wore serious faces and carried folders full of papers. Captain Ryan met them in the conference room. Kiranel waited in her quarters with Lisa and Amy. An hour later, Ryan came back. His face was tight with anger. "They want to take you to a government facility," he said. "They call it protective custody, but it's really just a nice prison. They want to keep you isolated while they negotiate with your father." "I understand," Kiranel said quietly. She had expected this. Humans had been kind, but governments were never kind. She had learned that from her own empire. "No," Ryan said firmly. "I told them I disagree. I told them you deserve better. But I'm just a ship captain. I don't have the power to stop them." "Then who does?" Lisa asked. "The courts, maybe," Ryan said. "If someone files a case for her rights." The next week was difficult. Kiranel was moved to a government building in the city. Her room was comfortable but locked. Guards stood outside her door. They were polite but wouldn't let her leave. She could see a park through her window. Children played there. People walked dogs. Everyone looked happy and free. She wanted to be out there with them. News reporters found out about her situation. The story spread across Earth's networks. An alien princess, gifted to humans like property. Many people were angry. They said it was wrong, that no person should be treated like a thing. One of those people was Sophie Grant. She was a lawyer who specialized in rights cases. She had fought for refugees from other planets before. When she heard about Kiranel, she knew she had to help. Sophie came to the government building and demanded to see the princess. At first, they refused. But Sophie was persistent. She filed legal papers. She contacted news channels. She made so much noise that the government finally agreed to let her visit. "Princess Kiranel," Sophie said when they met. She was a woman in her 40s with red hair and determined eyes. "My name is Sophie Grant. I'm a lawyer. I want to help you. If you'll let me." "Help me do what?" Kiranel asked. "Fight for your freedom," Sophie said. "You're not property. You're a person. And every person has rights under our laws. I want to prove that in court." "The government wants to keep me here," Kiranel said. "I know. But I think we can win. The law is on our side." Sophie pulled out papers from her bag. "I need your permission, though." "Do you want to fight for your freedom?" Kiranel thought about the ship, about Amy and Brandon and Kate and all the others who had been kind. She thought about the park outside her window, about the mountains Amy had described, about living without fear. Yes, she said. Sophie smiled. Good, then let's begin. The legal case made big news. People across Earth argued about it. Some said Kiranel should be sent back to her father, that keeping her might start a war. Others said sending her back was cruel, that humans should protect those who need help. While the case moved through the courts, Sophie had an idea. She knew a couple who might be willing to help. Dr. Daniel Cross was a scientist who studied alien biology. His wife, Laura, was a teacher. They had a daughter named Emma who was 8 years old. The princess needs a stable home environment, Sophie told the court. Keeping her locked up is harmful. Let the Cross family foster her while the case proceeds. The government argued against it. They said she might run away, that she might be dangerous. But Sophie fought back. She brought Captain Ryan and Dr. Eric Palmer to testify. They explained that Kiranel was gentle and kind, that she had been the victim, not a threat. The judge agreed to a trial period. Kiranel would stay with the Cross family for 3 months. If there were any problems, she would return to government custody. Kiranel met the Cross family on a cold October morning. They lived in Colorado in a house surrounded by trees. Mountains rose in the distance, just like Amy had described. Snow covered their peaks. Daniel was a tall man with glasses and a warm smile. Laura was shorter with curly brown hair and kind eyes. Emma was a small girl with pigtails who bounced with excitement. "You're really an alien princess?" Emma asked immediately. "That's so cool. Can you do magic?" "Emma, don't overwhelm her," Laura said gently. "I cannot do magic," Kiranel said. "I am sorry." "That's okay," Emma said. "I can't either. Want to see my room? I have rocks I collected from the mountains." Before Kiranel could answer, Emma grabbed her hand and pulled her inside. The house was warm and smelled like baking bread. Pictures hung on the walls, showing the family laughing together. This was a home, a real home. Emma's room was small and messy. Toys covered the floor. Drawings hung on every wall. The girl showed Kiranel each rock in her collection, explaining where she found it and why it was special. "This one is my favorite," Emma said, holding up a blue stone. "Dad says it's called turquoise. I found it by the river. You can have it if you want." "I cannot take your favorite," Kiranel said. "Sure you can. That's what friends do. They share stuff." Emma pressed the rock into Kiranel's hand. "Now you have something to remember your first day here." Kiranel stared at the blue stone. Nobody had ever given her a gift before. Her throat felt tight. "Thank you," she whispered. Life with the Cross family was strange and wonderful. They ate meals together at a big table. They talked about their days. They asked Kiranel questions about her home world, but never pushed if she didn't want to answer. Laura taught her about Earth's history and culture. She explained concepts that confused Kiranel. Democracy, human rights, freedom of speech. Ideas that didn't exist in the Naltharian Empire. "Everyone gets a vote?" Kiranel asked one day. "Even the weak? Even the poor?" "Everyone," Laura confirmed, "because we believe all people have equal value." "My people do not believe that," Kiranel said quietly. "They believe the strong should rule. The weak should serve or die." "What do you believe?" Laura asked. Kiranel had never thought about it before. Nobody had ever asked what she believed. "I think the humans are right. Strength without kindness is just cruelty." Daniel taught her about science. He showed her how to use a microscope. He explained how Earth's plants made oxygen. He talked about his work studying alien life forms. "You're brilliant," he said one day. "You understand complex concepts quickly. Have you thought about what you want to do with your life?" "Oh. Round. I never thought I would have a life," Kiranel admitted. "I thought I would die young." Daniel looked sad. "Well, you're safe now. You can be anything you want. Think about it." Emma became her constant companion. The little girl had no fear. She didn't see a strange alien. She just saw a friend. They played games together. Emma taught her about Earth's animals and plants. She showed her how to ride a bicycle. though Kiranel fell many times before learning. Everyone falls when they learn, Emma said cheerfully after Kiranel scraped her knee. That's how you get better. Mom says failing is just practicing for success. One day, Emma took her to the park. Other children were there playing. At first, they stared at Kiranel. She looked different with her purple skin and gold eyes. This is my friend Kira, Emma announced loudly. She's from another planet. She's really nice. Who wants to play tag? The children hesitated for just a moment. Then one boy raised his hand. I do. Soon they were all running and laughing together. Nobody cared that Kiranel was different. They just cared that she was fun to play with. That night, Kiranel sat on the porch with Daniel. The sun was setting over the mountains. The sky turned orange and pink and purple. This is called a sunset, Daniel said. Every day ends like this. Every day starts with a sunrise. It's Earth's way of saying, tomorrow is a new beginning. It is beautiful, Kiranel said. You know what else is beautiful? Daniel asked. Watching you smile. Laura and I have noticed you smile now. Real smiles. Happy smiles. Kiranel realized he was right. She did smile now. She hadn't even noticed when it started happening. Meanwhile, Sophie was fighting hard in court. She brought witnesses who testified about Kiranel's abuse. Dr. Palmer showed medical records of old injuries. Amy described how frightened Kiranel had been at first. Captain Ryan explained how her own father had called her worthless. The government lawyers argued that Kiranel should be returned to her father, that keeping her might anger the Naltharian Empire. Are we really willing to sacrifice one innocent person to avoid conflict? Sophie asked the court. What does that say about our values? About who we are as humans? The trial lasted weeks. News channels covered it constantly. Public opinion was split. Some people supported Kiranel. Others worried about war. Then King Vexthor sent a message. He demanded his daughter's return. He said she was his property and Earth had no right to keep her. He gave them 30 days to comply or face consequences. The threat made everything worse. The government pressured Sophie to drop the case. They said Kiranel wasn't worth risking human lives. Sophie went to the cross home one evening. She sat down with Kiranel and told her everything honestly. The king wants you back, Sophie said. The government is scared. They might force you to return. I do not want to go back, Kiranel said. Her voice was firm. I would rather die free than live as a slave. Then we need to fight harder, Sophie said. I need you to testify in court. Tell them your story. Tell them what your life was like. Can you do that? Kiranel looked around the warm home. She thought about Emma sharing her rock. About Daniel teaching her science. About Laura explaining human rights. She thought about the sunset and the park and the mountains. Yes, she said. I can do that. Laura hugged her. We'll be right there with you. You're not alone. You are my family now. Kiranel said. My real family. I will fight for this. I will fight to stay. My. 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 The trial date was set. In 1 week, Kiranel would stand before the court and speak her truth. She was terrified. But she was also determined. She had spent her whole life being silent, being invisible, being nothing, not anymore. The humans had taught her that she mattered, that her voice had power, that she deserved dignity and respect, and she would prove it to the whole world. The courtroom was packed with people. Cameras lined the walls. Reporters filled the back rows. This wasn't just an Earth trial anymore. Species from across the galaxy were watching. Everyone wanted to see what would happen to the unwanted princess. Kiranel sat at a table next to Sophie. Her hands shook in her lap. Laura sat behind her with Daniel and Emma. Captain Ryan was there too, along with Amy and several other crew members from the ship. They had all come to support her. You can do this, Sophie whispered. Just tell the truth. That's all you need to do. The judge entered. Her name was Helen Pierce. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been a judge for 30 years. People said she was fair but strict. This court will now hear the case regarding the legal status of Princess Kiranel of Naltharia, Judge Pierce announced. Miss Grant, you may begin. Sophie stood. Your Honor, we are here to fight for a simple principle. That every sentient being has the right to choose their own path. That no person is property. That no one should be forced to return to abuse. The government lawyer, a man named Gregory Walsh, stood next. Your Honor, while we sympathize with the princess's situation, we must consider the bigger picture. The Naltharian Empire has demanded her return. Refusing could lead to war. We cannot risk millions of human lives for one alien. One person. Sophie corrected. Not one alien. One person. And how we treat this one person says everything about who we are. The trial began. Sophie called Dr. Palmer first. He showed medical records on a big screen. X-rays of broken bones that had healed wrong. Photos of scars. Documentation of malnutrition. These injuries are consistent with long-term abuse, Doctor, Palmer said. She has fractures from ages 4, 7, 9, and 12. Some were never properly treated. She has permanent damage to her left arm from an injury that was ignored. Could these injuries be from accidents? Walsh asked. Not with this pattern, Palmer said firmly. These are from repeated trauma. Someone hurt this girl regularly for years. Next came Amy. She described the frightened, silent princess who had first come aboard the ship. She flinched when anyone came near her. Amy testified. She wouldn't eat because she expected the food to be poisoned. She didn't speak because she was afraid of being punished for speaking. This wasn't normal caution. This was learned behavior from trauma. Captain Ryan took the stand. He explained the king's exact words when offering his daughter. He called her defective, worthless. He said she was useless to him but might be valuable to us. He didn't ask what she wanted. He didn't consider her feelings. To him, she was just an object. A bargaining chip, Walsh cross-examined. Captain, isn't it true that the king was in a desperate situation? That he needed to offer something to save face? Yes, Ryan said. But he had technology, resources, information. He could have offered anything. He chose to offer his daughter because she meant nothing to him. That's speculation, Walsh argued. No, Ryan said. That's fact. He told me himself. He said she would be killed by her siblings if she stayed. He was saving her life by giving her away, and he said it without any emotion, like he was discussing the weather. The testimonies went on for 3 days. Brandon described how thin Kiranel had been. Kate explained how she had been afraid to touch anything. Jason told the court about the diplomats who had called her cargo. Through it all, Kiranel sat quietly. She listened to people describe her pain, her fear, her suffering. It was hard to hear, but it was also healing. These humans saw her, they understood what she had been through. On the 4th day, it was her turn. Sophie had prepared her, but Kiranel was still terrified. She walked to the stand on shaky legs. She sat down in the chair. Everyone in the courtroom stared at her. Judge Pierce spoke gently. Princess Kiranel, you don't have to answer any question you're uncomfortable with. Just do your best. Can you start by telling us about your life in Naltharia? Kiranel took a deep breath. I was born defective. All Naltharians have telepathy. They can read thoughts and share minds. I cannot. This made me worthless in my culture. How did your family treat you? Sophie asked. Like I did not exist. My father never spoke to me unless he was angry. My mother died when I was young. My brothers and sisters hurt me often. They said it was training, that maybe pain would awaken my telepathy. It never did. Can you describe a specific incident? Sophie asked gently. Kiranel closed her eyes. The memories hurt, but she pushed through. When I was 7, my oldest brother threw me down the stairs. He broke my arm. I cried for help, but nobody came. A servant found me 3 hours later. She set the bone but did it wrong. That is why my arm is crooked now. That is why my arm is crooked now. The courtroom was silent. Even the reporters had stopped typing. When I was 10, my sister poisoned my food. I was sick for a week. She laughed and said she was disappointed I didn't die. My father heard about it. He punished me for causing trouble. Not her. Me. Why you? Sophie asked. Because I existed. Kiranel said simply. My existence was the problem. I was an embarrassment. A failure. If I had died, nobody would have been sad. Do you want to return to Naltharia? Sophie asked. No, Kiranel said firmly. I would rather die here, free, than live there as a slave. In Naltharia, I am nothing. Here, humans see me as a person. They are kind. They taught me I have value. Walsh stood for cross-examination. Princess, isn't it true that you are a member of a royal family? That you have lived a privileged life? I lived in the basement, Kiranel said. I wore servant clothes. I ate scraps. There was no privilege, only survival. But your father is a king. Surely you had some advantages. My father wished I had never been born. He said this to me many times. The only advantage I had was that he was too busy to kill me himself. Walsh looked uncomfortable. Your Honor, I know this is difficult to hear. But we must consider the political reality. The king has demanded her return. Let him demand, Sophie said, standing up. That doesn't make him right. If a human father abused his daughter and then demanded her back, would we return her? No. We would protect her. Why should this be different? Because she's not human, Walsh argued. Different species have different customs. 5. Work. Abuse is not a custom, Sophie said angrily. It's a crime. And we don't enable criminals, regardless of their species. Judge Pierce raised her hand for silence. Princess Kiranel, I have one more question. If you could choose freely, what would you want? I am said. Kiranel stood up. She had practiced this part with Sophie. I request asylum under Earth law. I ask to be recognized as a person with rights. I do not wish to return to Naltharia. I wish to stay on Earth. To learn. To grow. To live without fear. I wish to be free. Her voice was steady. Strong. She was not the frightened girl who had arrived months ago. She was someone new. Someone brave. Thank you, Judge Pierce said. You may sit down. This court will take a short recess while I review everything. Everyone stood as the judge left. Kiranel returned to Sophie's table. Laura immediately came forward and hugged her. You were amazing, Laura whispered. Emma pushed through the crowd. You were so brave. I'm proud of you. Ryan shook her hand. Well done, Princess. You spoke from your heart. The 30 minutes felt like hours. Kiranel tried to stay calm, but her mind raced. What if the judge said no? What if she had to go back? Would her father kill her for embarrassing him in front of the galaxy? Finally, Judge Pierce returned. Everyone stood again. The judge sat down and looked at Kiranel for a long moment. I have reviewed all the evidence and testimony, Judge Pierce said. This is a complex case with significant political implications. However, the law is clear. Under the Sol System Treaty of 2247, any sentient being requesting asylum from abuse has the right to be heard and protected. Kiranel held her breath. Princess Kiranel has demonstrated clear evidence of long-term abuse. She has shown that returning her to Naltharia would put her life at risk. She has made a clear and competent request for asylum. Judge Pierce paused. Therefore, I am granting her request. Princess Kiranel is hereby recognized as a legal person under Earth law, with full rights and protections. Her asylum is approved. She will not be forced to return to Naltharia. The courtroom erupted. Some people cheered. Others argued. News reporters rushed to file their stories. Kiranel just stood there, stunned. "Did I win?" she asked Sophie. Sophie laughed and cried at the same time. "Yes, you won. You're free." Laura and Daniel hugged her. Emma jumped up and down. The ship crew members all congratulated her. Even Judge Pierce smiled from her bench. But the celebration was short-lived. Walsh approached Sophie with a grim expression. "You know this isn't over," he said. "The king will not accept this. He's already sent a message demanding we reverse the decision. He's threatening military action." "Let him threaten," Sophie said. "We did what was right." Walsh shook his head. "Right doesn't always win wars." That evening, news came from Naltharian space. King Vex Thor himself was traveling to Earth. He demanded a meeting with his daughter. The message said he was coming alone, unarmed, to negotiate. "It might be a trap," Ryan warned. "Or he might actually want to talk," Daniel suggested. "I will see him," Kiranel said quietly. Everyone looked at her. "He is still my father. I am not afraid anymore." "Let him come," Sophie nodded. "All right. But we'll all be there with you. You won't face him alone." The meeting was scheduled for 3 days later. King Vexthor would come to Earth's diplomatic center. Kiranel would meet him there, with Sophie, Ryan, and Lisa present. Those 3 days were tense. Kiranel tried to prepare herself. She didn't know what her father would say. Would he be angry? Would he try to force her back? Would he finally see her as a person? On the morning of the meeting, Emma gave her another rock from her collection. "For courage," Emma said. "Keep it in your pocket. When you're scared, hold it. Remember you're brave. Remember we love you." Kiranel tucked the rock in her pocket. She put on her best clothes. Laura had helped her choose a simple blue dress that made her feel confident. Daniel gave her words of encouragement. Sophie reviewed what to say if things got difficult. And then it was time to face her father. The diplomatic center was a tall building in the middle of the city. Guards stood at every entrance. Inside, the meeting room was simple. A table, several chairs, windows showing the city outside. This is where Kiranel would face her father for the first time since he had given her away. King Vex Thor arrived exactly on time. He walked into the room wearing royal armor. 6 guards followed him. They carried no weapons, as promised, but they looked dangerous anyway. The king stopped when he saw Kiranel. His gold eyes widened slightly. He seemed surprised. Kiranel stood up. She did not bow. She did not lower her eyes. She met her father's gaze directly. Something she had never done before. "Father," she said. Her voice was steady. "You look different," the king said. His deep voice was hard to read. Was he angry? Confused? "You have gained weight. Your posture has changed." "I am healthy now," Kiranel said. "Humans feed me. They care for me." The king's eyes narrowed. "They have turned you against me." "No," Kiranel said. "They showed me that I deserve kindness, that I am not worthless. You are the one who turned me against you with years of cruelty." The guards tensed. Nobody spoke to the king like this. But Captain Ryan stood beside Kiranel. Sophie was on her other side. They would protect her. "I came to demand your return," the king said. "You are my daughter. You belong to me." "I am not property," Kiranel said. The words felt powerful. True. "I am a person. The human courts recognize this. I have rights now." "Human courts have no authority over Naltharian royalty," the king said. His voice rose with anger. "I am a king. You will obey me." "No," Kiranel said simply. The word hung in the air. The king stared at her. His face showed shock. Maybe his daughter had never said no to him before. "You dare refuse me?" His voice was dangerous now. "I could destroy this entire planet. I have ships, weapons. I could take you by force." "Then do it," Kiranel said. She felt the rock in her pocket. Emma's gift. It made her brave. "Attack Earth. Start a war. Show the galaxy what kind of king you are." The kind who destroys worlds because one girl wants freedom. Sophie stepped forward. Your Majesty, may I speak? The king looked at her with cold eyes. You are the human lawyer. The one who poisoned my daughter against her family. I did not poison her, Sophie said calmly. I protected her. There's a difference. Can I ask you something? Do you know what happened to your daughter on the journey here? She was transported, the king said. What else is there to know? She was healed, Sophie said. She gained 20 pounds because she had been starving. Dr. Palmer set bones that had healed wrong because nobody treated her injuries. She learned to speak without fear because people stopped punishing her for having a voice. She was disciplined, the king said. That is proper. The weak must be made strong. She was tortured, Captain Ryan said. His voice was hard. I read the medical reports. Your daughter has scars covering her back from being whipped. She has marks on her wrists from being chained. She flinched every time someone moved too quickly because she expected to be hit. That is how we raise warriors, the king said. She is not a warrior, Sophie said. She is a young woman who deserves love and respect, not pain. Your human concepts of love make you weak, the king said with disgust. Love is for the inferior. The strong do not need it. Then why are you here? Kiranel asked. The question surprised everyone, including the king. If I am worthless, why come all this way? Why demand me back? Why threaten war? The king had no answer. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. For the first time in the conversation, he looked uncertain. I will tell you why, Kiranel continued. You are embarrassed. I embarrassed you in front of the galaxy. The great King Vexthor gave away his daughter, and she chose to stay gone. That hurts your pride. Your honor. So you came to force me back. Not because you care about me, but because you care about your reputation. The king's face darkened. You know nothing. I know everything, Kiranel said. Her voice grew stronger, more confident. I know you never loved me. I know you wished I had died at birth. I know you called me defective and broken and worthless. I know you let my siblings hurt me because it amused them. I know you gave me away without asking what I wanted, because my wants never mattered to you. That is our culture, the king said. Then your culture is wrong, Kiranel said. Humans taught me that. They taught me that strength means protecting the weak, not hurting them. They taught me that worth comes from being alive, not from being powerful. They taught me that family should love each other, not destroy each other. Sophie pulled out papers from her bag. Your Majesty, we have testimony from 300 Naltharian refugees who came to Earth in the past year. All of them were considered defective by your standards. All of them suffered abuse. Your empire is built on cruelty, on destroying anyone who is different. We are efficient, the king said. The strong survive. The weak are removed. This makes us powerful. Does it? Captain Ryan asked. Because from what I've seen, it just makes you cruel. Real strength is helping others. Real power is using it to protect, not harm, the king laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. You humans are children. You have been in space for barely 3 generations. We have ruled the stars for thousands of years. Do not lecture me about strength. Then let me show you something, Sophie said. She pressed a button. A screen on the wall lit up. It showed video from the news. The video showed humans protesting. Thousands of them marched through the streets with signs. The signs said things like, Free Kiranel, and No person is property, and Every life matters. The crowds were huge. People of all ages, all types. These people don't know the princess personally, Sophie explained. Most have never met her. But they care about her anyway. They marched and fought for her rights because they believe it's right. That's human strength. We care about strangers. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. The king watched the video. His expression was impossible to read. Sophie showed another video. This one showed Kiranel playing in the park with Emma and other children. They were laughing. Running. Having fun. Kiranel looked happy. Truly happy. When did you last see your daughter smile? Sophie asked quietly. When did you last hear her laugh? The king was silent. He stared at the screen, at his daughter playing like a normal child, something he had never let her do at home. She has value, Sophie continued. Not because she is strong, not because she can read minds, but because she exists. Because she is a person. And every person deserves dignity. Respect. Love. Love. The king repeated the word like it was foreign. Strange. Yes, love, Lisa Hayes said. She had been quiet until now. It's what makes humans strong. We love each other. We protect each other. We lift each other up. That's why Earth has grown so fast. That's why we succeed. Not because we destroy the weak, because we help them become strong. The king looked at Kiranel again. Really looked at her. For the first time, he seemed to see her as something other than a failure. As something more than a disappointment. You have changed, he said slowly. Yes, Kiranel agreed. Humans changed me. They showed me I can be more than what you told me I was. I am not broken. I am just different. And different is not wrong. Your telepathy might still develop, the king said. It sounded almost like hope. It will not, Kiranel said. I have been examined by human doctors. My brain is structured differently. I will never have telepathy. But I do not need it. I have other strengths. What strengths? The king asked. Empathy, Kiranel said. Compassion. Courage. I can understand others by listening, not reading their minds. I can connect with people through choice, not force. I can be kind. These are my strengths. The king stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at the city, at the buildings and people and life below. He was quiet for a long time. When he turned back, something in his face had changed. The anger was gone. In its place was something else. Sadness? Regret? I do not understand you, he said to Kiranel. I do not understand these humans. But I see that you are happy here. Happier than you ever were in my palace. Kiranel nodded. I am. If I demand you return, will you fight? The king asked. Yes, Kiranel said without hesitation. I will fight. And these humans will fight with me. They will risk war to protect me. Because that is what they do. They protect those who need help. The king looked at Captain Ryan. At Sophie. At Lisa. You would truly fight my empire for one girl? For one person? Ryan corrected. Yes. We would. Because if we won't fight for one, we can't claim to care about any. The king was silent again. Then he did something unexpected. He walked to Kiranel and knelt down. Not fully, but enough to bring his eyes level with hers. I was wrong, he said. The words seemed difficult for him, like he had never said them before. I treated you as a tool, a failure, a burden. But you are my daughter, my blood, and you deserve better than what I gave you. Kiranel felt tears forming. She had never thought she would hear these words, never imagined her father would apologize. I cannot undo the past, the king continued. I cannot erase your pain, but I can make a choice now. I will not force you to return. I will not start a war over you. You may stay here, if that is your wish. It is, Kiranel said softly. But, the king said, may I ask something? May I visit sometimes? Not as a king demanding obedience, but as a father wanting to know his daughter. Kiranel was surprised. She looked at Sophie, who nodded encouragingly, then back at her father. You may visit, Kiranel said carefully. But you must respect my choices, my freedom, my life here. If you cannot do that, then you cannot come. I understand, the king said. He stood up again. Before leaving, the king looked at Captain Ryan. You saved my life once. Now you have saved my daughter's life. I am in your debt. You owe us nothing, Ryan said. We did what was right. That, the king said, is why you humans are dangerous. Not because of your weapons. Because of your morals. You make others want to be better. It is terrifying and admirable at the same time. The king left with his guards. The room felt lighter without him. Kiranel sat down, suddenly exhausted. Did that really just happen? She asked. It did, Sophie said, smiling. You faced your father. You stood your ground. And you won. In the months that followed, news spread across the galaxy. Other Naltharians who were considered defective began seeking asylum on Earth. Dozens came. Then hundreds. Earth opened special programs to help them adjust. The king kept his promise. He visited Kiranel every few months. The visits were awkward at first. They didn't know how to talk to each other. But slowly, they learned. The king learned about human concepts of family, about respect and boundaries, about love. He began changing laws in his empire. Slowly, carefully. It was difficult to change a culture overnight. But he started protecting those who were different. Offering choices instead of demands. His people resisted at first. But some began to see the benefits. Kiranel enrolled in university. She studied alien relations and law. She wanted to help others like her, other aliens who suffered under cruel systems. She became an advocate, a voice for those who had no voice. She lived with the Cross family during school. Emma grew up alongside her. They became real sisters. Not by blood, but by choice. Laura and Daniel became her true parents, the ones who loved her unconditionally. Captain Ryan and his crew remained friends. They visited often. Amy taught her more about different cultures. Brandon taught her to cook. Kate helped her understand technology. They were her first family on Earth. They would always be special to her. 5 years after arriving on Earth, Kiranel stood before the United Earth Assembly. She was invited to speak about refugee rights. About the importance of protecting those who flee cruelty. I came to Earth as a gift, she said to the assembly. A thing. An object. But humans saw me as a person. They fought for me when my own people would not. They taught me that I have worth. That I matter. This is humanity's greatest strength. Not your weapons or ships, but your compassion. Your willingness to protect the vulnerable. Your belief that every life has value, the assembly applauded. Leaders from other planets watched via video. Some were inspired, others uncomfortable, but all were listening. After the speech, Kiranel walked outside. The sun was setting over the mountains. The sky turned beautiful colors. Emma's rock was still in her pocket. She carried it everywhere. A reminder of that scared girl who had arrived years ago. Captain Ryan found her there. He stood beside her, watching the sunset. You've come a long way, Ryan said. We all have, Kiranel said. You saved my life that day. All of you did. You saved your own life, Ryan said. We just gave you the chance. You did the rest. Thank you, Kiranel said. For everything. No, Ryan said. Thank you. You reminded us what we're fighting for. Why humanity explores space. Not to conquer. Not to dominate. But to help. To protect. To make the galaxy better for everyone. They stood together in comfortable silence. Behind them, Earth continued its work. Helping refugees. Building bridges between species. Showing the galaxy that strength and kindness could exist together. And it all started with one princess. One unwanted girl, who became a symbol of hope. Who proved that every person matters. That every life has value. That sometimes the greatest act of strength is simply choosing to be kind. The sun set completely. Stars appeared in the sky. Millions of stars. Billions of possibilities. And somewhere among them, other beings suffered like Kiranel once had. But now they knew there was a place that would protect them, a people who would fight for them, a world called Earth where every person, no matter how different, could find freedom. Kiranel smiled. She was home. Finally, truly home. Not because of where she was, but because of who she was with. Family, friends, people who loved her, and that was all she ever needed.